Floating in the Indian Ocean between the vast expanses of Mozambique and Madagascar lies the enchanting archipelago of the Comores, a mystical land where volcanic islands rise majestically from the sapphire sea, their dark, rugged rocks seamlessly blending with the lush forests that cascade into the crashing waves below. I partnered with Adore Comore for an unforgettable 10-day journey to unveil the wonders of these islands. The final leg of my journey, I returned to Grand Comore to explore the northern coastline, as well as dive deep into some of the nation's historical palaces. And here's how it went. Good afternoon, guys, and welcome back to Grand Comore. I just took a flight back from Anjouan, and I spent the last 4 or 5 days exploring the other 2 main islands of the Comores. I was checking out Moeli, which had some incredible beaches and these amazing islands right off the coast. It was an amazing place for some snorkeling. We saw some sea turtles, and then I spent 2 days in Anjouan, did an island tour, and you had a lot of these really cool old towns, old Medinas, and interesting mosques and these stone towns. Just fascinating to see just different aspects of the Comores come out in those different islands. And now I'm back in Grand Comore, and I'm gonna finish up showing you guys this island. The first couple days I was here, we saw a little bit of the Medina of Moroni, and then we went up Cartella, which is the tallest mountain in the Comores and this amazing active volcano. And I've linked back up with Adore Comores, and they're gonna show me a little bit more of the things that you can do on Grand Comore here. I was just picked up at the airport, and we're gonna start right away by doing a northern tour of Grand Comore. Excited to go on a bit of a road trip and just explore a little bit more of just the unspoiled beauty here in the Comores. And our first stop along the north here is Maloudja Beach, which is one of the more popular places amongst tourists, and I can see why. You just have these really tall coconut palm trees that just line these amazing white sand, and you just have this incredible blue water. You have some black volcanic rocks just spilling out into the ocean here. So we're gonna just walk around, enjoy the beach here a little bit. It looks like it would be a beautiful place to go swimming. I'm probably just gonna fly up the drone, get some aerial shots of this incredible white sand and these palm trees that are just lining the coast here. So that was Maloudja Beach, and just really beautiful. Again, just such bright white sand, and then you're surrounded by these black rocks, blue water, the green palm trees, and then flying the drone, you could see some of the volcanic mountains just off in the distance, just from the beach here. And yeah, the beaches here are just insanely beautiful, and there's almost no one on these beaches. So you just have this unspoiled beach, and just feels just like such raw, rugged, natural beauty. So anyways, we're gonna jump back in the car, keep driving north. I think there's a lunch spot that they want to take me for some cool traditional food. So yeah, let's keep going up the coast here and grab some lunch. We were on our way to the lunch spot, but right on the side of the road there's this giant Baobab tree that we're gonna head over here and check out. And he said that there's a hole and you can go inside. We have just come inside the Baobab tree here, and there's a hole on the bottom, and then it opens up to the top, so you can look right through the trunk of the Baobab, and you have all of these like really knotty roots down here, and it's just amazing. It's so big here inside this Baobab tree. We have just driven a little bit further to the Cave of the Prophet, which is this little cove area, just this beautiful water and these like cliffs and caves. And we've come to Baobab Magique, which is this little bungalow restaurant here right beneath a baobab tree. It just has this really cool rustic vibe to it and just some beautiful views overlooking the cove here. So we're gonna have a very traditional lunch here and just some nice views, some good food, and yeah, right beneath this baobab tree. It's pretty cool.
Hello, here we have acha with chili, spicy, and here we have the vegetable. We got banana, sweet potato, carrot, and here we have the salad, and we have the fish, and this is the local bread. Okay. The local bread made out of the flour and the coconut milk. And bon appetit.
That was such a cool little lunch spot. You would never know it was here. It's just like tucked away in this very small village on some back roads, but you have these incredible views right across, and you're just in this little bungalow right under the baobab, and the food was so delicious, so beautifully prepared. Like the salad was served in a seashell, and you just have like this Rasta man in his little kitchen just serving up these amazing dishes and just incredible flavors. We're on like one of the spice islands here, so there's just like a lot of really nice cinnamon and cardamom and pepper in there, and just really delicious and such a cool spot. Again, you would never know this was here, so I'm glad Adore Comore was able to show me this really hidden gem in one of these little villages. So we're gonna continue our tour of the north, so let's jump back in the car and see what else is on Grand Comore. We have just driven a little bit further up the coast, and we are just about at the northernmost point of the Grand Comore, and we've come across this really fascinating crater lake, and it's right next to the ocean, and it's called the Salt Lake because it's a salty water in there, but you just have this like really deep crater. You can see it just go right around here, and then the water inside is like this kind of bright green color, and then you have the really bright blue of the ocean just in the background. It's really fascinating to see that contrast of these two different colors of water. We're gonna just take in some of the views here. I'm gonna try to fly up the drone, get some aerial shots of this volcanic crater, and just, yeah, very, very fascinating. It's such a cool little spot. So that was the Salt Lake. Just really beautiful spot, nice little overlook. You're just on this hill and you just have a beautiful view of the ocean looking right down on the water, and just such a bright green color when the sun hits it, and then you have the blue off in the distance. And here there's like a little souvenir shop too where you can buy some Comore souvenirs. There's some vanilla, some lang lang. So anyways, we're gonna jump back in the car, and we have a 15-20 minute drive to the Dragon's Back, which is another viewpoint there. So see ya. Just had a little drive and then probably just about a 5-minute hike up to this ridge and this is the edge of a crater, and the crater used to go all the way around here out into the ocean, but now most of it's eroded away. And then even this little part, you have these like big black volcanic rocks, but you only have like little segments of them, and they call it the dragon's back because it looks like all these little vertebrae that kind of curve around into the ocean here. And then from this ridge, you also can look back this way and see some of the mountains of the north, and you can see some of the coastline heading off this way. So very beautiful, rugged spot, and just incredible views. Just feels very remote, so natural, and just all of these like palm trees. It feels like a scene out of Jurassic Park or something. So anyways, gonna enjoy these views. Probably gonna try to fly up the drone. I think this will look amazing from the air. So that was the dragon's back, and especially with the drone, getting the aerial perspective, you could just really see the dragon and his spine as it reaches out into the ocean. Amazing blue water, really interesting, really unique, and just such a cool rock formation. So from here, we're gonna jump back in the car, we're gonna head up into the mountains and check out another volcanic crater. We have just driven up into the mountains, probably about half an hour or so, and this will be the last stop of our northern island tour, and we're going up to another volcanic crater that's up in the mountains here. So should be pretty cool. It's about a 15-minute hike through the bush here. We just hiked through some farm fields up to this amazing crater. You have all of this like tall yellow grass, so it has this golden look and feel to it, and then you're looking down into this luscious green crater, and then you can see the blue ocean off in the distance, and you can see some of the other mountains behind us, some of the other villages, and it's just an incredible view. Very deep crater here, and I guess the island of Grand Comore has over 130 craters throughout the island here, and so there's so many of these little mountains. Most of the mountains that you see are probably actually volcanic craters, and even from up here you can look down on a few other craters in some of the villages there. And so gonna take in some of the views and probably fly up the drone again and get an aerial perspective of this volcano. But yeah, very beautiful. Amazing views from the top of the crater of this volcano. Again, you have this golden color, and then the green inside, and then the blue way off in the distance, and just, yeah, amazing to think of all of these craters that once were active volcanoes. And anyways, that wraps up our northern tour of the Grand Comore Island. Tomorrow, we're gonna get back on a boat, we're gonna do some dolphin sighting, and then we're gonna check out a few more villages a little bit more south of Moroni. So yeah, we're gonna drive back, and I'll see you guys tomorrow morning. Good morning, guys. We are back in the capital of Grand Comore, just north of Moroni in Itsandra. And this morning we're going to start off the day by getting in another little boat here, and we're going to head out into the water, and there should be some dolphins out there, but I think it'll just be really cool to get out on the water just off the coast of Grand Comore here. So yeah, let's jump in the boat. We just had a nice little boat cruise along the coast of Moroni. Beautiful views of the mountains, some of the villages, and some fishermen. And we've made it to this little cove where the dolphin usually hang out. So we're gonna look for some dolphins now. So we've been out here for 15-20 minutes. We haven't seen any dolphins yet, but usually they're hanging out in this bay area. Flew up the drone just to see if I could find any in the water here, but we're gonna start heading back to Moroni, and we're gonna see if we find any dolphins swimming with us while we're heading back. We have just made it back to Itsandra here, and unfortunately no dolphins, but really cool just getting out on the boat and seeing Moroni from the coastline. Got to see a couple of the villages, a couple of these volcanic craters right along the coast there, and being early in the morning we got to see some of the fishermen out in their little tiny fishing boats. So from here we're gonna explore a couple of villages near the Itsandra area, some old palaces, and yeah, just do some more exploring of the Moroni area. We've been exploring the little village of Itsandra here, right where we were taking the boat, and we've come to one of the historic houses in the villages here, which was built in the 14th century, and it was home to the first Muft, which was the head of all of the imams of the Comores. The house is a little bit in disrepair now, so it's a bit of a ruin, but it's kind of cool to explore one of the older houses here in the Comores. Just across the street from that old home that we saw of the first Muft of the Comores, there's his tomb, and there's a little green dome, and then inside there's his tomb and the tomb of his family, and inside there's just these beautiful colorful rugs, and it's a place where people can come and pay their respects to the first Muft of the Comores. So very interesting. So let's kind of keep walking around some of the village here. just walking around the old town of Itsandra, and that was one of the first port cities in the Comores, so very old, very historic. And now we're going through this little alley pathway that's just surrounded by this volcanic rock, and we're gonna go up to one of the first palaces here in the Comores. We have just hiked to the top of this 14th century palace, and you're up on this hill overlooking the village of Itsandra that we were just exploring some of the Medina of. And it's amazing. This palace was just built out of this black volcanic stone, and it was built up here to have a view over the ocean to protect itself from Malagasy pirates. But again, as my guide was saying, there were 9 different sultans that were all battling for different regions of the Comores. So they were also looking for enemy groups from within the Comores, and so they had a couple of these watchtowers that could just keep an eye out over the village here. So very fascinating. Did not expect some of these like ancient palaces and castles in the Comores here. So this is really cool to explore, and just amazing views. So yeah, let's keep exploring. So that was it for Itsandra, going out on the boat ride, checking out one of the oldest villages here in the Comores, seeing some of these really old architecture, the old palace. Anyways, we're gonna jump back in the car here. We're gonna drive to the southern part of Moroni called Eoni, which is another little village. There's some cool mountains. They're gonna be doing some home cooking in one of the villages for me, so I'll get to see the inside of a house, inside of a kitchen, try some more local, authentic Comore food. So let's jump in the car and check out the southern part of Moroni. We have just driven to the southern part of Moroni, and there's another little volcanic crater here that's right on the ocean. And we're gonna do a little hike, probably 15-30 minutes to the top, have a look down in the crater, get some views of the ocean, some of the mountains, and then we'll explore a little bit more of some of the villages here in the south. So let's start the hike.
Before colonization, we had, as we know, the system of sultan. Especially in this island, each region has their own sultan, and they used it to fight each. So during the period of 18th century especially, we built this kind of wall for protection.
We just had about 20-25 minute hike to the top of Eoni, and Eoni is this crescent-shaped volcano that's like right on the ocean here, and you can look down into the crater, you can see some of the farming down there, and then the crescent shape just opens up to the ocean, and then on the other side you're looking down on the little village of Eoni, and it's just surrounded by this beautiful blue water. And then at the top of the hill here there's a little fortress wall, and back in the 18th century, when the Malagasy pirates would come or neighboring sultans would come to attack the village, the people from the village of Eoni would come up to the fortification up here for protection. And then there's even stories of women, instead of being captured by the Malagasy pirates and put into slavery, they would jump off some of the steep cliffs of the Eoni volcano and plunge to their death in the ocean and the rocks below. So very interesting history, very fascinating, and nice little hike to the top of this other crater on Grand Comore here. have just finished our hike up the Eoni crater, which is just to the north of the village of Eoni. And we're gonna do a little walking tour of the village here. And right as we're entering, we saw it from the top of the mountain, but we have the Friday Mosque, which is just really one of the biggest mosques I've seen here. It's at least 2 stories with these beautiful archways. We have a couple nice minarets, a dome on the top. And then right near here we have the old Sultan's Palace, which is some ruins. So we're probably gonna explore that and then walk through the village a little bit. Right next to the Friday Mosque in Eoni, and right along the coast here, there's the ruins of the Sultan's Palace. And this building was built in the 16th century, and it was home to the last remaining Sultan of the Comores, who died in 1919. And he was also the one that brought in the French, and a treaty was signed here with the French in this palace here. So there's a lot of historical significance. And we just have some ruins of the palace, but you're right along the water here, some beautiful views of the ocean, and then right beneath the Eoni crater that we just climbed. So yeah, let's explore the ruins of this old Sultan's Palace. So that was the Sultan's Palace right on the edge of Eoni here. And now we're gonna do a little walking tour, kind of stroll through the old stone town of Eoni, check out some more of the old architecture. And again, just another one of these old towns with these winding Medina streets. So yeah, let's go for a wander. So that was wandering around the small little village of Eoni, just fascinating architecture, winding old streets, and again, just the archways that would lead you to these little plazas throughout the old town. Just like a labyrinth of these streets, and just such cool texture to all the buildings. A lot of them were built out of the old volcanic stone, and so just very cool exploring that. So anyways, we're gonna jump back in the car here. A little further south is my guide Hakim's village, and we're actually gonna go to his house for the afternoon, and his family's gonna cook us some traditional Comorian food. So let's go there for a little home cooking here in the Comores. We have just driven about 10 minutes south of Eoni to Hakim's home village here, and we're gonna go to his family home, and his mom and sister have prepared us some local cuisine, and so we're gonna get like a little home cooking experience here. We've just entered Hakim's home here, and they have prepared for us some rice, and then we have the cassava leaves, which we've seen in some of the villages where they grind it and smash it, and then we have some tuna and some mixed vegetables and some fresh fruit juices. So very good, very authentic, and yeah, let's eat. Bon appetit. We just had our lunch here in the living room, and amazing food. I ate so much, and the cassava was that really unique dish, and some breadfruit, and then the fish is just really good. So now we actually ate first because it was already kind of late in the afternoon, but now they're gonna give us a little demonstration on the kitchen and how they cooked that food for us. So that was the little home cooking excursion. It was really cool. It was actually like one of the guide's family's homes. So we got to meet his mother, father, sister, and the mother and sister prepared the food for us. And then again there at the end, they showed us a little bit how they make the cassava. Very interesting, very delicious food. So anyways, we're gonna head back to Moroni here, and I'll see you guys in a little bit in Moroni. Alright guys, we have just returned to Moroni, and I'm back at my hotel, and that finishes up the rest of the tour of the Grand Comores, doing the northern part, checking out some of the beautiful beaches and amazing coastline there, some of the volcanic craters that make up this island. Again, there's like 130 craters that you can hike. There's just so many beautiful mountains all throughout the island here. Incredible culture, checking out a few more of the local villages and the old stone towns that make up the Grand Comore here. And then today especially, just seeing a little bit more of the history of the Comores, checking out some of these old ruins of some palaces and some of the old homes that go back to the 15th, 14th centuries. It was just amazing to see this like really rich history of the Comores. And tomorrow I'm leaving the Comores. I'm flying off to Europe to go on some European adventures. So that finishes up my whole tour of the Comores. It was such an incredible opportunity to partner with Adore Comore here and show you guys one of the lesser known Indian Ocean islands here, but honestly one of the more beautiful. Like, there's just so much here. There's incredible snorkeling, beautiful blue water, you have this volcanic rock, so you get these black sand beaches, and then having the cultural aspect too of the old towns and the history of the old palaces was just really fascinating. It genuinely would have been a very hard place to travel by yourself. I don't know French, I don't know the local language, there's not a lot of great public infrastructure, so getting around to places, it was really helpful to have a local guide to show me some of these really off the beaten track places, some of the authentic restaurants, and getting to do the home cooking today was just really cool, putting all of that together to give me a comprehensive taste and feel for the Comores, and really learning to fall in love with this small archipelago between Madagascar and Mozambique. So yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching. Hopefully this gives you some ideas of some of the things that you can see and do in the Comores.